Just wanted to make sure I congratulated all the teams out there playing for the all the state championship games. Pretty cool to walk by, and we're out there in the practice field just now. I can hear them, and making the starting announcement. So congratulations to all those, young people, their families. It's quite an accomplishment. So with that, I'll get started.
What does it mean having those games here? Enjoy hosting these games at Nebraska every year.
I think it's great. I think what you want is you want all the young people across the state to grow up someday dreaming of playing here, playing in Memorial Stadium, whether it's in the state championship or eventually here with us. So, I think one of our jobs is to nurture football, whether it's the clinics that we do, youth camps that we do, hosting high school games, hosting all the, smaller schools, colleges in the state. They come over to us and visit us, watch practice. We want to be a place that supports football.
You're going to have a chance to have some kids who are in high school now who are a part of your practices next month. Is that the first time? I assume that's the first time in a four bowl game you'll have ever experienced that. And what can that look like or mean?
Yeah, and I think we'll have to wait and see where we're going and when we are in terms of like dates that they graduate high school and all that. So it's my first time doing it. I haven't had that before. I think it's great just in the acclimation process. We want guys to understand sort of the standards that we have in terms of everything from being on time to how we practice. And I think them getting a chance to get here early and be a part of it would be great if it turns out right with the timing of graduation and all that.
What's the challenge of a short week? And I know you guys had a flu bug going through last week. Or you feel like you're over that?
Yeah, we had both flu and strep throat last week, so it was really kind of all hands on deck by our medical staff. We still have some guys, a couple guys that tapped out today. Not tapped out, like tapped out in the bad way, like we're out because of strep throat. But they were mainly non-travel guys. I mean, like Marquise Buford, Sierra, if you could put a camera on me, I kept putting my arm around him the whole game. I was like, I'll give you tomorrow off. Just get through this game, buddy, because he was playing corner, he was playing gunner, he was playing jam run, punt return, and he was just dying, right? Like, so, obviously him and Marquise Buford got back, but they were just not feeling great. So I think we're much healthier this week. The challenge of a short week, obviously, is just kind of, you lose a day. So, today we went out there, we practiced like it was a Tuesday. Tomorrow we'll practice like it's a Wednesday. Typically I don't do that, but because of also the Thanksgiving component of this and some of the things that we'll do later in the week, we treat it this morning like Tuesday.
How much, given that you now have that bowl in place, how much hungrier do you sense your team is to now go get another thing and win another game against Iowa?
I sure hope they are. I mean, honestly, Sam, we didn't even have a team. We haven't even had a team meeting since the game. Like, we walked in today and it was 8:00 Iowa special teams. There's just no time for, hey, great job, da 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 da. There's just no time for it, right? Like, so this is such a condensed week versus a really difficult opponent to prepare for that. We just jumped right in. I think the thing that you saw, coming out of the game, like a lot of the guys were in the building yesterday. They know that they can do it. It's kind of like they know they're capable of it. So, let's continue to do it. That's the expectation now. What was once possible is now, okay. It's not just, hey, it's possible. Now we can do it. So let's do it. And this is an excellent team we're facing. So we have to do it at a high level.
Is it even more pronounced offensively with like a 44-point, 473-yard output?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and I think, like I said, the lessons of the game are the lessons of the season, right? Like we fumbled the ball on the 20-yard line. If we do that against Iowa, who's plus 11, we're not going to win. So while people, I think Dana's done an amazing job. Let me start there. But I think if you say it's the play call, you hear Dana on the headset the whole time. He's just talking about execution. Like the guys who practiced the best on Thursday last week played. Some guys had some false starts and some mistakes on Thursday. He's out. 13, you're in. Let's go. So IGC got a chance to play and he made a play in the game. So there's a real focus on execution. And when the guys execute the play calls, and so I think that was the message to the guys, like, hey, if you execute and practice at a high level, you're going to have an opportunity to play in the game, and then when you get in the game, make the most of it. And so when we had penalties, we didn't score on those drives. When we when we snap the ball on third down, we're going on 2 and we snap it on 1, and all of a sudden the ball's in the quarterback's hands. There's nothing he can do. But when we just settled down and just played, then guys made the plays necessary to make. So it's kind of a blend of everything we've been trying to say to them all year coming to life. Like, hey, just go execute. I think the thing Dana's done a great job of is, like I said, he's cut things down to a degree, but also he's demanding that they execute if they want to get on the field. And that's kind of how we handle things on defense. And, I think it's kind of now played over to offense as well.
He's cut things down.
Just the amount of play, kind of like I said when I first got here, like he came in and said, hey, let's just scale back in terms of the amount that we're doing. We're still doing a lot, still doing a lot. And like I said, there's a couple times in that game where, he was trying to find the words because, he's had one language for, I don't know, 30 years. And now all of a sudden he has a completely different language. And so, Coach Glenn and Garrett and Sat did a great job of, I think, sometimes helping with the words in the middle of the game. But he has a picture of what he wants it to look like. And it's interesting for me. It's my first time being around there. It's very collaborative. Like, they sit in the room together for hours upon hours upon hours and put together a game plan together. So it's been really cool for me. I'm always trying to learn. It's good for me to learn from.
How much better is Iowa's run offense this year compared to last year? What's challenging about it in general?
Well, they've always been, to me, like when I first learned how to run outside zone, I go all the way back to learning from Rick Kaczynski, who I know coached here as well. He was a great D-line coach, but learning from him, learning from Coach Ferentz, that's how I first learned, the way that I've always taught the run game. So, they've always been the premier outside zone team, counter team in the country. I think Caleb Johnson's playing at an unbelievably high level. They've got a veteran offensive line. I think Coach Lester's brought in, they're doing a lot of what you see NFL teams doing. Like, they're running the ball to the open side, then checking it versus any 4-week threat to zap to the front side. So a lot of us who've been in the NFL, it's kind of what we know, and they're doing it really, really well. And I don't want to underestimate. This back is fantastic. He makes people miss, and he can burst and go the distance. They've kind of done it 2 different ways. With Sullivan out there, because he was a running threat, they were doing it one way. With McNamara out there, it was a little bit different. And I think that's the mark of great coaches. Whatever quarterback's been out there, they've been able to do it. To stay in the same scheme, but whatever fits that quarterback. And then now, as we're not sure who the quarterback is, they've kind of had a hybrid model in between. So I think they're doing a really good job, and they've run some people off the field just by running the football down their throat.
Now that the bowl game berth is secure, kind of building on what you're saying about being hungry, but do you just get the sense the guys are playing a little more free? And how was the attitude in terms of coming off a win? You've had coming off a win before. Was it any different today than it has been in the past after a win?
Yeah, Sam said hungry. I didn't say that. I just think I think our guys all. I don't think there's been a game where they weren't dying to win. I think this is really hard. This has been hard, right? And it requires really tough people to do the stuff that we've been trying to do to kind of get over that hump, right? And when you lose to Indiana the way we did, then you come back against Ohio State, then you lose to Ohio State, and then you come back against UCLA, then you lose to UCLA, and then I make some changes, then you lose to USC. It's only reasonable that you would either lose your confidence or start to question things, right? Like, well, why are we working so hard if we're not getting the result that we want? And maybe we should be doing this. It's not like I sit there and say to the guys, hey, don't doubt, trust. It's only you guys asked me if this was big for me. I was like, yeah, this was big for me. This is I know I believe in what we do, but still, it's great to have some representation of, hey, it's working here for us right now. Even though you see it at practice, you like to see it in the game. So I've never doubted their effort, right? In fact, like last week, Dana and I were talking. He was like, sometimes, it's like times you feel like, maybe we're pressing a little bit too much, just trying to do too much. And I thought you saw a group on Saturday that was just pretty relaxed and pretty in the moment offensively. So I know how much the Iowa game means to our guys. We sat there last year. I loved that group last year, and walking off the field after losing on the way we lost. Right, we pick the ball off, we get a holding call, we throw a pick. They just kind of run the clock out. Guy makes a great run, and then the field goal just gets over the goalpost. That's a credit to Coach Ferentz and the way he does things. But walking off the field, their players are waving at our guys. Have a good Christmas. That was painful. That was really painful. So I don't doubt that our guys will be ready, but their guys are going to be ready. None of it. It really just comes down to football, right? If we false start, we're probably not going to win. If we turn the ball over, we're not going to win. If we can win the turnover battle, we'll have a chance to win. And so if we can tackle, so I think it all comes down to the preparation. It's not all these other things, and that's a great thing about finally getting a bowl drought over with, because it's not these things. It's just like make this play, make this kick. John Hull. If John Hull doesn't do what he's done the last 2 months of getting better and better and better as a kicker, then we don't have, we have a different kicker and a different snapper than we did at the beginning of the year. And those guys have just gotten incrementally better to all of a sudden you get to a game like that. And if he's not making those field goals, the game's a lot different. So this week, to me, that's why, we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it. We came out and just got right back to work, because I know Iowa's they're going to be prepared. They're going to work, and we have to make sure we're in our fits on defense, and we have to make sure we're not continuing to give up we're giving up too many big plays passing right now, way too many. And so we just have to make sure the football's right. But I'm sure they'll prepare high this week.
What about the weather? Just what will you find about your offense playing in colder conditions? You guys haven't had conditions that are going to be this cold. It's going to be a night game, obviously, late in the year.
Yeah, I don't worry about the weather. I mean, we go in the mornings here, which is great in some ways. But in the spring, I mean, there's plenty of days that we're out there and there's 30-mile-an-hour winds and it's 18, 20 degrees. I mean, it was 22 degrees last week. It was cold as could be out. I mean, today was, I'm wearing you never see me wear a jacket. I wore a jacket out there today. Like, it's cold today. Where we practice, last week, we were throwing, it was, 35-mile-an-hour gusts, and we were throwing into the gusts. The way Dana does 7-on-7, he goes this way for half, then this way for half. And so, I mean, our guys are tough. Iowa's guys are tough. I think the game will come down to football. I think our guys will, if there was maybe ice on the field or snow, it might be a little different. But I feel pretty good about our ability to handle the cold, just because we do it in the spring and then we do it again in the fall. We don't really ever go inside unless I really need the crowd noise from the indoor.
Okay, there's execution.
Is there anything else that got Rhule in a groove in that game on Saturday?
Well, I think he had a great week. I think the UCLA game. I mean, that was a significant hit to his back and injury, and so even if you go back to the USC Tuesday, I was like, I think he'll be able to practice. He didn't practice on Sunday. I think he'll be able to practice Tuesday, but I think he was ginger that whole game. And I think he was better this game, just in terms of being healthy, right? Being able to move around, being able to slide in the pocket, and they got one pressure on us early, but after that, I thought, we're getting the ball out of our hands. He was just taking completions, taking what was there, not trying to do too much. Again, playing as a freshman in the Big Ten is really, really hard. It requires tough people, and I think Dylan's been tough in that he's gotten better every week. And sometimes maybe everyone, like the production people, they're asking me that you can't always maybe see it because you're playing better people, but I think Dylan's gotten better every week in a lot of ways. This week it was really easy to see, because I thought he was just in complete and total control and command. And again, another week with Dana, I think, has helped him as well.
And that ability to get past the doubt that you talked about that the guys are naturally going to have, how important and how heavily did the seniors impact, weigh or factor in the whole locker room, not getting weighed down by that?
Yeah, I think whether you doubt something's going to work or not, it really comes down to whether you go out and do the work or not. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to do it anyway, or I'm sure this is going to work, but I'm going to do it anyway. Like, it all comes down to, at the end of the day, your work output. Like, if you're going out there every day and you're working on the execution of a play, if you're working on the execution of a special teams, if you're working on your craft, I personally believe, like, I haven't had very many great players who've played for me who haven't actually had this great period where they almost like quit football, or they like, I'm saying, like, everyone's career doesn't go like this. Like, you have to go through these ups and downs and hit this point where you're like, man, I don't, I'm not Matt Ioannidis, Hassan Reddick, all of them came in my office and said, man, I think I'm going to transfer, coach. I don't think I'm going to, and then they all hung through it, weathered the storm, and then came out the other side. And so it comes down to me. You're going to feel all these different feelings and emotions, but do you show up and practice? Do you show up and meet? And so I think like Giff and Ty and Nash and MJ and Jamar, even though he's decided to come back, and Banks and Nayor and Ben Hart and Ben Scott, I think those guys have just continued to show up and continued to work. So whereas they might doubt, or they might feel all the doubt or hear all the doubt, they've just continued to do the work. And the ones who haven't played as much. The ones who have continue to play. Buschini, all those guys. And then all of a sudden one day wakes up and you score 44 points, or you beat Wisconsin for the first time in however many years, or you kick a bunch of field goals, and it's like, okay, now I believe. It's really hard to believe. It's blind faith, right? It's hard to believe when it hasn't worked. And so when it finally works, and it worked for a game, I'm not, when it finally works, it's like, all right. But they did the work anyway. And I think that's the biggest message I have to the guys is like, no matter whether you believe in it or don't believe in it, just show up and work, and you'll find out in the long run. And so I'm proud of those guys. They've really pushed, I think, the thing through.